There's a guy, Sign, who's been selling pre-built all-metal Pantorouters, and he offered to send me a royalty, and I told him, don't send me money. When the royalty is enough for one machine, send it to me, and that's what I've got here. So I'm as curious as you are. Japanese newspapers. There's some bits in here. Oh, this is the follower bearing. Some smaller bits. Oh, these are the screws. Oh, cool. Allen keys, just like IKEA. Okay, and this is the pantograph. Oops. Okay, so this is the core of the machine, along with the whole mess here. But here's the pantograph mechanism. The springs aren't all hooked up right now, but with no router in there, that's better. And then this, I think, is the template holder, which needs to be bolted. That's the plunge lever, I think. Yeah, that has to be okay. This is part of the template holder, and this here is the plunge lever. Getting these screws in is a bit tricky, getting them not racked. It's just too easy to get them cross-threaded. So the impact driver is probably not a good idea for these screws, because with the impact driver I can't really tell if I've cross-threaded them or not. Alright, I'm a guy, but I still had to look at Coldup's instructional videos, but I'm none the wiser. There should ideally be some special type of T-nuts that fit into these tracks, but I can't find any. And then these holes are different depths, so there is a screw and one washer that's the right thickness for me to put that in there and not have the screw bottom out in the T-track. And so I'm just going to slide a nut on here, and now let's put the track on it, and I need to stick an Allen key down here to keep that nut from turning as I tighten it just a bit. I think this bar should fit across here, and in the video he's got these special fasteners for attaching these tracks together, but I can't find this, and this is actually a little bit wider than these columns, so I'm not sure if that's meant to go in here. I think we're going to have to open the other package to see if maybe the parts are in there. Oh, nice. So I think this would be the table and the base. All these rails in here. Let's see. In here. Oh, lots of little goodies. Ah, look, here's one of those square nuts that goes in the T-rails, much better. So I guess I should have looked in here first. And these extrusions are all a little bit on the large side, except for this one. This looks like the right size. So he's already put these special fasteners in the crossbeam here, but I have to take one apart to see how it works. And the way it works is this screw is conical, so as it gets tightened in there, it pulls that fastener in a little bit further, and that's how it attaches. Ta-da! Now I'm going to tighten these up to make sure it stays put. I'm just using this other bar to make sure the tops of these are flush as I tighten it. Okay, this is mostly together, so I'm going to put that aside and figure out how the base and the table here goes together. This big thing is the table, and there's a few goodies hidden inside of this one as well. I am, of course, a guy, so I want to figure this puzzle out without looking at the solutions, so to say. That would be the instructions. But here's a really important clue. This yellow tag says, please don't remove the hex nuts from the T-slot. Yellow nuts are for the shaft support and white are for corner brace. So these would be the shaft supports, and there's some corner braces here. So we've got two in here, so the corner braces go in here, and the shaft supports presumably go on here. And these hold the shaft that the linear bearings slide on. I haven't unwrapped this yet. So if the shaft is on this side and the corner braces are on this side, that means this is probably this way, it goes in here, so that these can stiffen up the table, because there isn't any uprights on the frame in the back. And then this has got the yellowish nuts in there as well, so that should go in the back. And the shaft supports on here. So Colip stuck some packing peanuts in here to hold the nuts in place. And the screws are already on the end here, and there's actually a small washer with every screw behind the screw heads. Just trying to show you here. And it's really important that that washer goes inside the T-slot, not outside, because otherwise it's not going to go together properly. Whoops! Well, so much for not removing the nuts, but I wanted to tip this so that I could make sure the washer is held down by gravity and goes inside the T-track. And that slides back to here, where there's holes in the track I can go through and tighten these screws with. It's actually a pretty clever system. Making sure these little washers end up on the inside of the T-track is actually surprisingly tricky. Go in, damn it. There we go. Now this is going to be the back of the machine, and there's some of these extra nuts here for the corner braces, and I have 6 of those, so I think 4 are for holding the table, which means 2 have to go in the back, and I have to put those in before I put this back part on. I think I'm getting better at putting these tracks together. Slide that nut in place, and now coming in here with the other one. There we go. Now mounting the shaft holder, each one pairs with 2 nuts in the track. The table needs to go on the front here, and it's offset by these guys here, which attach in here. And the cool thing about this track system is I could put this together in all kinds of ways. It's very flexible. Of course, the bad thing is there's a right way and many wrong ways, and will still fit. So I was just looking at this table, and I realized the holes are oriented like this here, and they're oriented like this here, which means these pieces here, some of them go like this, and some of them go like this. And looking at things here, based on these holes here, they have to go on here like so, which means the front ones have to go across. And that means the corner braces probably go in like here, and maybe like here, because there's not that much need for support this way. Now I need to get these front ones in there, and they need to slide into both of these. So I've just loosened this one up again, and I'm going to slide it in here. And I make sure I got the washer in the right spot, and now I just rotate both of these up. And now try and slide everything in. There we go. Now the table goes on here, and it has to slide in from the end, and I have to get all these washers in there. But I'm going to leave that off for now while I mount the pantograph. So these bars are a little bit longer than the space here, and I was wondering whether maybe I should have put the shaft mounts back here. So I had to go check Coolip's video, and he had the shaft mounts here as well, so I think these are just longer than they need to be. And I also saw he put 4 corner braces in the corners here, which I didn't. I don't think it's quite necessary, because when you've got the wide piece against here, you've got a lot of stiffness against this angle anyways, so you don't really need them in there. Now the lever needs to go on the back. That's this lever here. Now this is a bit loose here, so I'm just using this extra piece here to make sure I've got the sled parallel to the frame. And now I can tighten up, whoops, now I can tighten up the mounts. So this is the mount for the lever for the plunging action. It goes on here. I had to take that apart to get the screw in here. I had to loosen these screws on here, and now this template frame slides in here. These Bessie clamps have these little screws and square nuts on them, so that means they have to go into this T-track here, and as usual they're fiddly to get into the slots. I'm impressed with these clamps. They're the fancy new Bessie self-adjusting ones, so it'll clamp this thing, and without any adjustments I can also clamp this thing, and it just adjusts itself to both of those. Very cool. The cool thing with this Pantorouter is these templates, which on the inside they're a follower for carving a mortise, and then if you run the bearing the other way around and run it around the outside, that's for the tenon. And the other cool thing about these is there's a scale on here, and if 0 is on the top edge here, then the router bit is exactly in the middle of the table. So if I want the mortise to be, for instance, 2 centimeters from the edge of the wood, I just have to take this and raise it up to 4 centimeters because the pantograph halves it. And there's a scale on both sides for making sure this is level, and then I know that the bit here is going to be 2 centimeters from the table. So I've played around with this a bit, and I've been corresponding with Coolip, and we made a few minor design changes. Based on experience with my own Pantorouter, I know that sometimes you want to be able to back off the plunge depth a lot, just in case you're using a long bit and cutting a long tenon overhanging the table. So I had suggested to just make these rails longer, but that would increase the shipping costs. So what we've done instead is we've taken this table and we moved it out by 1 increment. I drilled new mounting holes on mine. Yours will come with the mounting holes in the right position already. And with the table further away, we can still get the chuck of the router to get to the edge of the table, so we're not missing anything on this front. And then moving back, we have more room, and if I take the backstop out, I get an extra centimeter of depth. I have also moved the shaft mounting and the angle bracket here. I swapped those two around, which means this depth stop can be pushed all the way into here so that we're not running into any restrictions for how far we can move forward. Instead of shooting another video on how to assemble the machine properly, I created a document that you can print out, and I think that'll be a lot easier for you to work with because you can just take it to your shop. It's a really fun thing to put together. It's much more satisfying than a jigsaw puzzle. We're ready for some more testing. I've got a piece of wood in here. It's 37 millimeters thick. So to put the mortise in the middle, I put this scale at 37 on both sides. And I got a 1/2 inch bit in there. And I'm in the slot of the template. So I just cut a tenon while forgetting to turn the camera on, and it fits, but it's definitely on the tight side, so I want to loosen this a little bit. A clever feature of these templates is that they're tapered a little bit, so if I just bring this bearing forward a little bit, it's going to run on a smaller part of the template, which will result in a slightly smaller tenon. So that's a bit looser than it needs to be, so I shouldn't have adjusted it quite as far. But it plops, so I guess it's okay.